residential assisted living development is not something you just want to figure out. The opportunities are massive, but the projects that succeed have great teams, great systems, great partnerships, and experienced people helping guide the process. We've got homes being built around the country now. We've got development projects. We've got renovation projects, hands-on homes being built around the country because of this community. The demand is there. The supply is not. And so we can just continue to go and scale and do this everywhere. Welcome to the Row Room Assisted Living Podcast with your hosts, Charlie Cameron and Alex Schlow. This is your go-to show for cutting-edge insights from industry leaders in residential assisted living.
Whether you're ready to launch your own assisted living business or looking to invest in this fast-growing, high-impact sector, we are here to equip you with the tools, strategies, and confidence you need to succeed. Get ready to ride the silver tsunami and change the future of senior care. Now on to today's show.
Welcome back to the Row Room Assisted Living Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Cameron, and I'm joined by Aaron Ameen as a co-host today. He seems to have wanted that third co-host slot. He keeps coming back for episodes. And today we're going to be talking all about development. So I've got Bailey Fait and Blake Fitzel here from Done Project Solutions. We're going to get into what the heck a construction manager does. We're going to go through a real-world example of what they've done for a residential assisted living project by one of our members and partners here at the Row Room. And we're going to talk about how they're going to save you a lot of time, a lot of pain, a lot of money in the long run on development projects, because as I've learned, development is a very expensive hobby. I, for one, would never do another development project or even start one without a construction manager and owner's rep in place, all of which we're going to explain in this episode. So Bailey and Blake, welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
To be here.
All right, guys, I know you have a lot of experience that came before Done Project Solutions. Can you kind of talk about how you got into development and how you came up with the idea of founding Done before we kind of go into what it is, the services you currently provide, especially on assisted living type projects?
Sure. Yeah. Blake, you want to kick it off for us?
Yeah. So Bailey and I we've probably got a little over 20 years of construction industry. A little bit on the design side right after school. I went for mechanical engineering. Bailey was civil, so kind of led right into construction. We started working for a big general contractor, and we traveled around the country building mega projects, from the Raiders Stadium out in Las Vegas. We were in San Diego, which is a Marriott property. At the time, it was the biggest one in the country being built. And so I was more on the project management side, and Bailey was on the field operations side. So we really complemented each other really well, worked great together. And we just kind of saw a gap of owners being represented properly and just not having the experience to make the right decisions that were in their best interest. So yeah, we started Done a year and a half ago and just really with the intent to help smaller owners and developers navigate the construction industry and be protected, because your general contractor may know how to build really well, and your design team and architect may have the great vision and the great artistic skill, but their interests are not always going to align with the owner. So we love to take our experience and work with owners to help navigate that and protect them and make hopefully the process smoother for all parties at the end of the day.
That's awesome. You got
anything to add there, Bailey?
If anybody or everybody on the project can walk away and say, let's do that again, then the project was a success. And that's our take. It's like, how can we compile the team and run these projects successfully from the owner's perspective, but also just keeping everyone engaged and everyone walking away feeling like they walked away successful from that project.
I love that. And speaking from experience, our Winchester project, we did not hire a construction manager from the get-go. And so we got raked over the coals in multiple ways. And we spent way more than we needed to on due diligence just to find out that we couldn't proceed with the project at the time. So from experience, hire a construction manager from the start, because they're going to do things in the correct order, right? Unless you have extensive development experience, which most of us, Row Room Mastermind, do not. But so many of us want to do RAL development because of all the benefits of building from the ground up for these communities. Then highly recommend You hire a construction manager because they're going to know how to structure all the agreements. They're going to know how to vet the contractors. They're going to know how to do things in the right order and save you a lot of money and manage the project well along the way. So that's my plug. But I want to get into some of the nitty gritty on what exactly happens with a construction manager. Can you talk about, let's start with the owner's rep portion. Like, what exactly is the definition of an owner's rep and what is it you guys do?
Yeah, I think it can come in different shapes and sizes depending on who you ask. I will say in the simplest form, an owner's rep is really a professional who is advocating for the person who's writing the checks, which in this case would be you two on the call, or it's the developer. It's the person who's ultimately making the decisions. And kind of like hit on right, you have some other folks involved. You have your contractors, you have your design. Everyone has the best intentions, but they might not be advocating exactly how they need to from the owner's perspective. So I think cut and dry, it's just someone who is your eyes and ears and who is like sitting at the table with you. So you're not having to hire a full team in-house.
And so you guys review the contracts and restructure the contracts between the GC and the civil engineer and everything to be in the owner's favor. Is that right?
Yeah, we do it mostly just to make sure everybody's protected. We try to flush out and identify all scopes, processes, and just make it clear so that it protects the owner, but it also protects the design team, the general contractor, because we're identifying and flushing everything out early. So there's no ambiguity once you get under contract and start working. It creates a lot less friction because you can always go back to the contract and say, this is what we talked about and this is how we're proceeding and running this project. And so we do add a lot to make sure that the owner is protected and budget and schedule and design intent are maintained. But at the end of the day, it's for everybody's best interest.
Got it. On the contracts and agreements piece, is there a power of attorney or something where the owner gives that power to you, or is it you guys review and then the true client is still the one signing all that paperwork?
Yeah, our clients all still sign their own contracts, and we're not lawyers or anything. We still recommend getting it reviewed, but we just know how to apply the construction language that can be used throughout the project to help navigate things.
Got it. Okay. So on the construction management side, I know a lot of people, including myself, when getting into development, didn't know what the difference between a general contractor and a construction manager was. I just thought those were the same thing, and that general contractor is going to manage everything. And I think on a small project like renovating your bathroom, that's probably fine. But when we're talking about building the Raiders Stadium or a 32-bed assisted living in Tomball, Texas, that's probably not the best plan. Can you talk through what exactly the difference is and what a construction manager does?
You want to run with it, Bailey?
Yeah, I think we've hit on a little bit on the owner's rep side, and a construction manager is almost really, it's similar as an owner's rep, if not the same thing, maybe a little more hands-on than an owner's rep would be. So we kind of like to tackle it as a combination of the two. But you mentioned like there is smaller projects. If you're renovating your bathroom or maybe you're building a single family house, like you probably don't need to hire us or any construction manager. You can make it happen. But when the stakes are a little higher, you got other people's money involved, you need someone that can bring the level of experience and the risk mitigation to the table. And that's where we try to leverage all of our experience and what we've done in the past to serve as that individual for the owner. So we want to treat everything like a partnership, not just a service-based offering. So every time we go into a project, like the one we're on with Aaron, we're forming this partnership early on. We're all aligned on this clear vision. No one's working within a silo. It's going to be a team environment the whole time. And then we're going to all work towards that same goal.
What are some of the biggest mistakes or issues you've seen resolved by having a construction manager versus just going direct to a GC?
I think the big one is, go ahead, Bailey.
No, go ahead. Yeah, you got it.
I was going to say, I think like one of the biggest ones and out of the gate is just when you're getting multiple proposals from different contractors, they're going to have different proposal formats and they're going to price things different ways and make different assumptions. And so if you don't have the construction background or experience, it's very easy to like kind of blur the lines or have a hard time comparing apples for apples. And so I think what we're able to come in and provide value is really stripping those down and going line by line so we can compare equally, and then just identify, looking at the drawings, looking at what's in the owner's budget to make sure that there's not things missing and there's not things being double counted. And just being able to clearly identify those helps you set a more confident budget. And so I think people get a construction proposal from a general contractor and kind of just make the assumption that it's capturing everything, and then move forward. And that's how they burn up a lot of their contingency, is by not understanding the details of the proposal and their overall budgets.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing to that because Blake hit on it, but when you go and get some folks, GCs, to take a look at what you're trying to build, and you have A, B, C contractor, and A is the lowest, B is the middle ground, and C is the highest, you're going to want to go with the lowest by default. When some people probably understand, hey, the lowest is not typically the best, but you got to understand, okay, why is there a 30% gap between A and C, and where does B lie? And it's what Blake said, it's a matter of, is there gaps? Is stuff not being captured? Is the lowest still a good contractor, but their model is, we're going to change order you to death until we can finish this project? And then the highest guy, maybe the highest guy is, that's their model. It's, we don't want to do change orders, but we're going to come in massively higher and you're going to pay for it. So it's just finding that middle ground and like, where are the gaps, if any, and how can we resolve them before we sign the dotted line?
I love that, because I was just about to ask, how do you evaluate GCs? And so, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I totally get it. I worked in the government for 11 years doing basically weapons acquisitions. We would buy weapons, develop weapons from contractors. It's the same sort of thing. Like, you can go at the lowest price, technically acceptable is what we called it in the Air Force, but you may end up with a crappy product, and you may end up just bolting on a bunch of extra money later. And just to get what you initially wanted, you can go with the most expensive one, who's going to get a huge cut, but they probably will deliver, but that's not saving the taxpayer the most amount of money, right? It's that middle ground in between. You have to find the right mixture of, hey, we're going to get a best value. So it's more about the value and the efficiency in the overall picture and delivery, right? You got risk, then schedule, and cost, right? All of that is baked in. How do you guys specifically, and I know the answer to this and I absolutely love it, like, how do you display that balance between cost, risk, and schedule as you're going through a project?
So we've got a dashboard that we use that kind of like integrates we manage schedule from that perspective, our budget, change orders, submittals and everything, open items for like just staying organized from a construction management standpoint. And so then we pull that all into a one-page just live dashboard that we share with our clients, so they can jump in there at any point and see how they're tracking. And we update it as frequently as possible. I would say a couple times a month. We get the schedule information directly from the contractors and then vet that out to make sure that things are tracking. There's no issues. They're not lying on it or anything. And then we update that schedule portion of it. And then whenever we do pay apps, from the contractors, we'll vet those out. And once they get paid, we'll update the numbers there. So we've even got a live graph on there that kind of shows the cash flow projections of like when you're going to be each month's billing, what they should be, and how you're tracking against that. And so all of those things are like quick little gut checks to just make sure that the project's going smoothly and you're not getting off track.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm a huge fan of the dashboard. The Everwood Reserve dashboard is incredible. I love that it's all rolled up into one tool. It's like you guys thought of this before AI started doing dashboards, right? Like, it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's such a cool way to get a handle on the project and to show investors or the SBA or anybody else who's interested in that specific project what exactly is happening at any given time. It's a very impressive tool. I've also been very impressed with how fast the Everwood project has been moving along. So I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you on all the success for that and kind of roll into that. I would love to now bring Aaron in and just kind of describe, Aaron, how did you get connected with Done Project Solutions initially, and why did you decide to go with them for the Everwood Reserve 32-bed luxury memory care assisted living project in Tomball, Texas?
Yeah, thanks for letting me crash the party, Charlie, and good to see you guys. Always great to be on a call with all my partners here. But yeah, the Dunn guys have done just incredible work for Everwood so far. It actually started, so I'm glad they gave some of the theory behind it, because now I can kind of tie some of this stuff directly to how they helped us. But we originally engaged with them around, I think it was February 2025. We were a few months into our mentorship arrangement with Assisted Living Mansion. So we had been working with them to kind of try and take their memory care mansion model and bring it to Tomball, Texas, which is a north suburb of Houston. And so we had plans, we had a lot of the ideas and the inspiration and the vision for it. But there was a lot of work to do, of course, to take that and actually go vet GCs, pick the right one, build out the budget, the schedules, contract, all that stuff. So what happened is we took those frameworks, and I knew Bailey through a different mastermind group that we're in. And he had seen me posting about this project that we were starting, and he shared that, hey, I'm running a construction management company. I didn't know what that was. So everything that we just spent the last 20 minutes you guys explaining, you had to explain it to me from scratch. I didn't realize that there was an opportunity to bring in a third party who not only acts as a consultant and a steady hand at the wheel, but also acts on your behalf in some ways as a check and balance. But that's one way to think of it. I think the better way to think of it is as a partner. We brought them in when we were still in the process of picking GCs. They knew the type of plan and building that we were trying to build, but they were able to help guide us through, like Blake said, put side by side the different bids that we got. In one case, I think there was almost a $2 million delta between the bids. So we got one bid from one GC for whatever that number was, and then another that was like totally different range of prices. So even just we have 7 acres of land that we're building Everwood on. There's so many different combinations of ways you could arrange that land and install the infrastructure and roads and paving.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt this episode, but I've got a question for you. Do you want to share in the wealth and incredible returns from the highest demand asset class in real estate without the hassle of doing it all yourself, or at least not yet? Residential assisted living is booming, and it's only gaining momentum. That's why we created an investment fund at Open Range Capital, so you can benefit without the heavy lifting. With the silver tsunami upon us, demand for assisted living is far outpacing supply, making this the can't-miss opportunity for the next few decades. We provide access to fully vetted investment opportunities that are primed for success and ready to deliver strong passive returns. Don't wait, ride the wave with us. Visit theralroom.com/invest to partner with us on future investment opportunities. Again, that's theralroom.com/invest. We look forward to connecting with you. Now back to the episode.
So even just challenging the assumptions people are using to build their bids. These are things that we would not have known how to do. So they can help us translate and also get a read on people's personalities. You're going to have to work with this GC for 1 to 2 years. And if you want to do expansions, and if you have any type of vision beyond this first project, like these are very consequential decisions. An investment in somebody bringing an informed perspective and being able to boil down what's being told to you versus what actually is, that's invaluable in my opinion. Right out of the gate, I think we brought them in kind of just in time. I don't know if you guys would agree, but it's like being part of that GC selection allowed us to start on the right footing and establish the dynamics that, hey, like these guys are representing us. They're going to partner with you to keep everybody aligned. This is another thing that Bailey, I know you talk about a lot, which is like alignment. Every single week, we refactor the construction schedule to make sure we're all working off the same information. If there's a schedule floating around that says we're going to finish in the end of December, but in fact, we've made up some time and we're now going to close in November, like Bailey's the one who's pushing those schedules out and saying, hey, GC team, can you confirm like this is the current schedule? And so there's just all these like little micro alignments. There's actually a lot more paperwork than probably anybody realizes in construction. It's very paperwork heavy, contract heavy, POs, vendor agreements. So there's just a lot of stuff to look through. And if you're an operator, especially if you're developing, and let's not forget, we're planning to open a 24/7, 365 care business on the other side of this. That is a lot of stuff to pay attention to all at once, especially if it's your first time. So I think the investment can be rationalized in a number of different ways, but even like, so there's direct cost savings, which I know we're going to get into in a little bit, but like just even staying on your original schedule and not getting delayed, The cost of delays ends up being lost revenue. It ends up being additional cost, like direct costs. So like even just having that alignment and staying on schedule can save you a lot of money and headache, not to mention the efficiencies and all that. Last thing I'll say on this part is that our GC actually views it as a benefit. And they said we actually like when people have owners reps because it does keep people aligned and it gives us like more clear communication. It gives Andrea and I as the principals a safe place to ask our questions. And also like we're just all in true partnership on this instead of, there's no adversarial relationship between owners rep and GC. It ends up, if done right, it ends up being a great collaboration that just keeps everybody on the same page.
I love that. I confirm this for me, if you would, Aaron. So there's an investment amount to bring on Dunn or a construction manager. In my mind, it's kind of like having a CPA or going to a legit CPA who understands everything about you and all your investments and all that stuff versus going to H&R Block, right? Yeah, you're paying a fee either way. And one may be more, the person that knows you better and your financial picture better may be more. But in the long run, the savings are wild. Like when I moved to a legit CPA that understands all my investments and stuff, I ended up, the savings compared to cost is unbelievable. So I would imagine that alone, plus the schedule, probably makes the SBA like having a construction manager in the mix versus without. Can you confirm that, Aaron?
100%. If you think about from the bank's perspective, their job is to protect their risk. Of course, they want to lend money out because that's the way they make money. So it's not that they want to have zero risk. They accept some risk, but anything you can do to protect against one of the bigger ones in this type of project, which is cost overruns, schedules slipping, lack of accountability, all that stuff, right? The service that an owner's rep provides directly addresses every one of those areas of concern. And then beyond the bank perspective, I would also say, if you're having to raise money like we ended up doing for our project, your investors are going to want to know, especially if this is your first time doing it, that you've got a plan on how you're actually going to pull this off. Yeah. We can all see projects that have come to fruition, but it's different when you're in the driver's seat and you have to look somebody in the eyes and say, hey, you can trust me to protect and ultimately grow your $50,000, $100,000 investment because I have surrounded myself with people who understand how to attack these different types of risks. So we mentioned we're in a mentorship with Assisted Living Mansion. They're the steady hand that has proven this model that we're then relying upon and consulting with for that information. The same can be true for construction with an owner's rep. We're working through the tiny little granular details, and we can look our investors in the eye and say that, hey, this isn't just, construction is not an afterthought. We have people dedicated to this day to day representing our interests.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I don't think I would have thought of it. But when we were raising money for Everwood, Blake and Bailey were on every single one of the money raising webinars with the investors. And they answered a lot of questions and presented really well. And I got to say, it was a huge enhancement to a pitch that I've not really seen much of. Usually it's okay, it's all the main sponsors, but rarely does someone bring in the construction manager as a partner on the team, which you guys truly are. And it really, I think, really helped convince investors that, hey, we've got the risks managed on this project versus, we're just going to do a development. We're going to see how it goes, right? It's our first one. We're just going to wing it. None of those, that doesn't give a lot of confidence. This was the exact opposite of that. And I think really got a lot of investors across the finish line. In fact, we overraised, right? We oversubscribed, which is a good thing. So yeah, I love that. And I just wanted to shed a little bit more light on that. Aaron and Blake, whoever wants to kind of talk to it, can you just talk through how the process has been going for Everwood and kind of what problems have you solved and how have things been going with the general contractor? Just kind of give us an overview of that project thus far.
Here, I'll tee this one up for you guys. So generally speaking, like after we got into the actual project, so shovels in the ground, so to speak, we have a weekly meeting. So once a week, we meet with Dunn, with the GC team, and we go through any open items, any decisions that need to be made. If anything needs to be worked through or if anything went wrong, we address it. It's always no judgments, there's no punitive nature of these meetings. It's just, hey, how are we staying on track? And what, if anything, needs to be done to continue to meet our goals? And we also meet separately to review budgets. And if there's something, one of the best services I think that you guys have been able to provide is looking 2-3 months ahead and saying, hey, if this doesn't happen by this point, it will affect this. Or if this happens right now, like it's going to put us off pace for our contingency, and just being able to tee up these insights so that Andrea and I can synthesize it and make a decision. Maybe we're okay with spending in a certain category, but you guys typically come with a solution of some sort. Hey, if we're going to overspend here, like maybe we can make some of it back there. So it's lots of little fine-tuning calibration conversations. So we have a couple standing meetings per week, but then these guys are doing all sorts of stuff in the background, which I'll let you guys speak to.
You want to go, Bailey?
Yeah, I kind of like what you guys were talking about us. You guys are great advocates. So appreciate all. Oh yeah, Charlie, you kind of asked what are some of the biggest ticket items that maybe we found or prevented, and there are some specifics, and maybe Blake can hit on some of the values if we want to talk about some of the dollar values there. But I think it kind of what Aaron said, it's like catching some of this stuff early before it becomes a problem. We obviously talk about that in the pre-construction phase. What can we vet out ahead of time? But when construction is going on, there's things that come up, and it's really, if there is going to be a change or an add or a reduction, not taking it maybe for what it is. And we're going to challenge some of those things and find maybe smoother ways to do it, more efficient ways to do it. I don't know, Blake, you want to give a certain example of one of the changes, but.
Yeah, for example, we always knew that we wanted to implement generators on the projects. The residents would be able to be comfortable during a power outage. And so during the design, that wasn't something that we fully got the chance to bake out before we wanted to submit for permits. So we created an allowance in the contract for it. And then as we kind of built that out and gave the contractors some more time to come up with the generator design and the pricing, they came back and it was significantly higher than what we were going to be able to swallow. And so like an instance like that, it's not a yes or no. We're going to go with it or we're going to go with no generators. We started working with the engineer and the contractor to just come up with a solution where we're still able to provide backup power and keep the facility running on a partial load. So we've got like the kitchen, common areas, our lighting, our main air handlers on the HVAC side of things, and hot water heaters. So you can still live comfortably. You're just not going to have maybe your TV in your bedroom's not working, or just some small things. And that was able to save us. I think we were able to cut that change order in half. And so things like that, I think that's a good example of where we're able to like use our experience to help provide value, where somebody may receive a change order and think that this is what I have to go with, or not at all, or they don't know where to push back, because it was our partners, our engineer and architect and boatman, they were all great partners through it all. But in a situation like that, it was a lot of revisions and going back to the drawing board. And so it took a little bit of a nudge to get that one across the finish line. But I think that's from a change order perspective where our lens and experiences in the industry has been able to provide a lot of value.
For context, that was a 6-figure savings, right? Like all the back and forth and the discussion. If we had just accepted the first version of the change order, we would have paid multiple hundreds of thousands of extra dollars. That's a really good example. And there's all sorts of little micro decisions made along the way. I forget how many change orders we're at already. We're halfway through the project and we're, I think, approaching double digits, if not there already. And those are highly scrutinized. You guys look at every single one of those and again, kind of tee up, here's the relevant decision that needs to be made. This one's 100% necessary. There's nothing we need to do. Just sign it. Or, hey, we're going to go back and talk to the team. Don't worry about it just yet. We're going to work this out and we'll come back to you with some solutions. That's just an example that could have easily taken multiple hours or even days of our time going off and solving that, versus we're now able to go attack the marketing and the community engagement, all the other elements that it takes to be successful in RAL, because you guys are handling those things, not only saving money, but saving time. Yeah. So I think that's a good call out. And then the pay apps you mentioned earlier too, I forget who mentioned it, but you get these multi-million-dollar bank loans. And then once a month, you're supposed to submit a log of all the checks that need to be written, all the funds that need to be dispersed from your loan. You're signing on the line of dispersing $1 million+ sometimes in funds. Somebody should be looking at that, right? Of course, you as the owner should be looking at it, but sometimes you don't know what you're looking at. So I would say there's an extra assurance that helps you sleep better at night, knowing when you sign off, hey, the bank's going to go off and pay these 5 vendors, knowing that not only has the GC checked it, but your representative who speaks to your interests has looked through this and these funds look good to go. There's some peace of mind in that.
Yeah. And I guess just kind of on that contingency and change orders, I think the step one of managing your contingency properly is like, it starts in pre-construction and making sure you're like capturing everything in your budgets. But then step 2 is just along the way, really understanding the details, depending on how sophisticated your general contractor is. Some you'll get just a 1 page with a line that says generators, this is your change order. And some you'll get the full engineer drawings and everything of what exactly you're getting. But it's just really important to understand all that. And like with the generators, there's going to be fire alarm tie-ins, some extra plumbing. And so are you capturing the full scope in the change orders, or are there going to be more that trickle on as a result of executing this change order? And I think that's where it can snowball and get out of control on projects. So maintaining that and having a clear understanding of what you're signing is crucial, because I think it's allowed us to, and the Ameens, to spend the contingency on more fun things like adding a playground and improving some of the kitchen equipment, adding some laundry. And so we're getting to spend it a little bit more freely in areas because we're confident and certain in our budget and where we sit today.
Love that. And to be clear, the playground is for kids of visiting families and not the residents, or?
Thank you for that clarification. That is important.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, this project has gone very well. It's moving along. It's just been surprising. We were in Houston 2 weeks ago and there was a pad for one home, sticks for the other. And now there's siding and a roof on the sticks, and the pad is now sticks. So it's just been wild to see how fast this is moving and to really see this project come together. A testament to how well this project's been. Aaron, is there anything else you'd like to say about Everwood before we transition into the Row Room partnership?
Yeah, I think just the contract piece that Blake was just talking about, just a couple other examples. So because we involved them when we did, before we had signed a contract with the GC, they were able to immediately provide some suggestions on language and incentives. I'm a huge fan personally of aligned incentives. I like to know that the structure of the contract, we're all working towards the same goal, right? And so they instituted, just one example is a shared savings. So if once we reach the initial bid from the GC, if we're able to save money from that number, we actually increase the fee to the GC as a result, right? They're incentivized to save money. We'd be happy to pay whatever, I forget the percentage, but we'd be happy to pay a percentage of every dollar that they save because we're still saving money. That's just one example of a really creative, cool, aligned incentive that they helped introduce to the contract. And the GC was on board too, because frankly, they have an opportunity to make more money in a way that serves the project now. Separately, we introduced the state health, the code for licensure as an exhibit to the contract. And we said, hey, this entire contract essentially is contingent on being able to pass these inspections based on this commercial code. So they can't build us a building that just looks cool. It has to actually meet the specs of what the state will authorize for a license to run this type of business. So just once again, details, crossing T's, dotting I's, and looking for those aligned incentives. These are things that help us sleep very well at night. And those are like high leverage things, right? Those suggestions cost very little energy from them, but they've made an enormous impact on the project. Extrapolate that across the entire project and you can see like all these little kind of value centers.
Yeah, talking about the incentives too, I think one of the first things we did, we ended up going with a general contractor doing design build. And so we had schematics and a vision of what we wanted to build. And we were getting proposals based on that. We didn't have a full construction set of drawings yet. And so instead of signing the full multi-million-dollar contract for design and construction right away, we wanted to make sure that as we worked through design, the contractor was still incentivized to maintain our budget. So we gave them a limited notice to proceed instead of the entire contract, which at least that got us through design into permitting. where we could sharpen the pencils on the budget and it incentivized them. If they wanted the job, they were going to have to keep the design within budget and work with us rather than getting the full contract and then knowing they're locked in and can change order and have a little bit more leverage over you.
Things we would never have known.
Yeah, exactly. Things we didn't know before getting into all of this, which is why we're here talking about it on the podcast so that you guys don't make the same potential mistakes that we could have made along the way or did make on Winchester. But I want to talk a little bit, or have you guys chat a little bit more about our partnerships with the success of this project and how well Dunn has performed. The Row Room, we've never claimed to know more than we know. And we found that we have not as much knowledge about development as the guys who built the Raider Stadium, right? Aaron really came up with a brilliant idea of why don't we have Dunn partner with the Row Room and come in and help teach members directly about development and guide them along the way so that they can make the right decisions on their ROW journey. And whether that's deciding whether to get into development or to do a renovation or to buy existing. And if they do decide that, hey, development is what they want to do, which so many of our members, it just seems so many go down that path. It just made sense to partner together and bring Dunn Project Solutions in to help guide our membership along that journey. So, Aaron, I don't know if you want to give an overview of the details of what that means for the members in the mastermind for us.
Yeah, you summed it up pretty well. We see this as a major gap, not only from our lived experience, Charlie with your Winchester project, us with Everwood, just seeing the different knowledge gaps. You don't know what you don't know. And I think that's one of the wisest postures you can take when you're getting into a project of this scale is to surround yourself with the right people who can provide that perspective, recognizing that not every single person can afford to jump straight into an owner's rep arrangement right now, or they might not even have their land parcel or their project identified. We wanted to be able to have people still get the benefit of learning from Blake and Bailey about all these very important concepts that can totally make or break a project. So the partnership is relatively simple. We're going to bring them in to do a couple calls per month, specifically focused on construction. So that'll be for our entire membership base. They will also, there's a couple advanced due diligence services that they'll offer. Those will be, I think, a la carte. And then they'll be providing a discounted pre-construction service, which is essentially when you do one of these arrangements, they're typically longer term contracts that run through the entire construction project. But prior to the loan funding and when you're initially doing those pursuit costs, a lot of that stuff comes out of pocket until the loan funds. So they're providing some discounted pre-construction services for members who choose to work with them. And that's for that vetting the GCs, contract negotiations, all that kind of stuff we just talked about, which can really set the tone for your entire project. So just super excited to bring them in the fold and have members be able to start, chipping away at some of these big ticket questions because we know that we're not the best people to answer those. But yeah, happy to let you guys add anything to that.
Yeah, no, we're stoked and we're grateful. This is exactly why we started the business. It's to help people with their developments. And now we get an opportunity to do that in multiple ways with you guys. So if you're a member of the Row Room or if you're thinking about it, get ready because we're going to try and deliver as best we can for you. But yeah, like Aaron said, we'll be doing trainings. So just like an educational piece, but ideally giving you something you can walk away with too. So whether you work with us or not, at least you'll have some tools to utilize on your own, doing your own work. We'll also do the bi-weekly meeting or bi-monthly, twice a month meetings, right?
Yeah.
That's so challenging for me. Twice a month call, bring your questions, bring your projects, bring anything that's relevant. That's just an opportunity to basically get everyone in the room. And even if you don't have a question, maybe somebody else has a question that you had helps you on your journey because it gives people an opportunity to just join a call and kind of hear what's going on. And then, yeah, the discounted rates, it just gives us another opportunity to help folks. Like you said, Aaron, it is tough sometimes, and we recognize that when you don't have the funding yet, but you still need to drive the project, right? So however long pre-construction takes for you as an individual, it's still going to have to happen until you get to the SBA loan or whatever your loan structure is. So we recognize that, and we want to, as a Row Room member, you're going to get a little bit of a discount so we can continue to support that at a more detailed level. So we're excited. We're ready to get after it. I've also spent like my whole life growing up around these assisted living facilities. So it means a lot to me as well, which I know it does for most of the members. So yeah, we're excited.
I love that. And I'm very excited to have you guys just integrated in and to help our membership understand development better and move that path forward, because at the Houston event, when we got to walk through Everwood Reserve, it got a lot more real for all of us, all the members that are thinking about doing development, as well as me and Luke and Alex. We were like, wow, this is the impact this community has made already since we started end of 24. We've got homes being built around the country now. We've got development projects coming along. We've got renovation projects. Like there is incredible assisted living, hands-on homes being built around the country because of this community. And by bringing you guys on board, we're going to be able to exponentially accelerate that. Well, on the roundup episode we just had, you guys listen to that. It's the demand is there, the supply is not. And so we can just continue to go and scale and do this everywhere. And I don't think it would be possible without having a team on board like you guys. Really excited for the future to see just how many homes we can open through this community. That is the ultimate goal, is to see how big of an impact we can make on the senior care space through the Row Room. So stoked for that. Anything to add, Aaron?
No, I think it's a win-win. It's a great opportunity. You guys bring incredible experience and perspective to the table, and is a great opportunity for the members to get a chance to ask questions that normally you'd have to pay thousands of dollars to get specialized consulting and access to answer some of these very specific types of questions. So I think we're proud to be able to bring that access to the group, and excited for where it'll lead.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. There's a big takeaway today, and I think that residential assisted living development is not something you just want to figure out, right? I don't know, I'm just going to spend some money and see what happens. The opportunities are massive, but the projects that succeed have great teams, great systems, great partnerships, and experienced people helping guide the process. And so that's why we're excited about this partnership with Done Project Solutions. That's why I think it's going to create a ton of value for the RAL members moving forward. And I'm sure we'll bring you guys back on the podcast to share with the general community as well. Love to give people that free education so they can kind of get an idea of whether this is for them before they jump in even to a mastermind, right? But once they're in, man, we're going to be ready to go. We're ready to deliver. We're going to give people the exact blueprint they need to go from, I don't know about a residential assisted living, I think it's what I want to do, I don't know which one of the 80 paths I should choose, to I'm building 32 beds with another phase coming later, like Aaron, right? Aaron, you joined the mastermind, you were going to just do another lease to operator. And here we are, $9 million into a 32 bed build with room for additional phases. It's just wild to see. And I want to see that happen 100 times, 1,000 times. Gentlemen, you got any parting shots for us? If folks want to reach out to you to work with you, whether they're RAWR members or not, what's the best way for folks to do that?
You got it.
I think you'll have it in the show notes potentially. If not,
For sure.
It's just contact us at doneprojectsolutions.com. You can go on our website. There's a link there. There's Instagram. You can find me, Bailey Fait, on LinkedIn if you want. Plenty of ways. If you're in the RAL room, no need, because we'll be there. But otherwise, any of those ways we'll answer you.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate all your insights. And just looking forward to partnering with you and continuing to grow together.
Yeah. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks for having us today.
All right. And that's been the RAW Room Assisted Living Podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to the RAW Room Assisted Living Podcast. We hope you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a raving 5-star review. And a quick review helps more listeners find the show and more seniors get the exceptional care they deserve.
And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And just so you know, we have prepared some free resources for you to help you succeed in residential assisted living in addition to this podcast. Head over to theralroom.com, that is theralroom.com, to download our free 10-step guide to launch your first or next residential assisted living home, or our 10 reasons to passively invest in residential assisted living ebooks. And if you're ready to take the next step and make real moves in the RAL industry, join us in the RAL Room Mastermind. It is an exclusive community where we deep dive into everything you need to launch and grow your own residential assisted living business. You'll get access to recorded courses, live calls with industry experts, a RAL calculator, resources and tools, like-minded entrepreneurs, funding opportunities, and an expert networking community to help you along your journey. Be sure to join us next time on the Row Room Podcast as we continue to explore the world of residential assisted living with more great guests. See you then.